Hello, viewers. Good day, wherever you are. I wish you a blessed day today. It's morning, 9:36 GMT from the Republic of Ireland. Detention of Innoson motor manufacturer and Nigeria's hopelessness under Buhari. You're welcome to my liberation gospel. I know many of you are going to work, so I have to make this just a very quick one. Actually, I want to take some of you memory lane. I mean, historically, most of us follow the politics of the United States of America. And many countries have equally adopted their political system. Even Nigeria, where we come from, Nigeria practices a presidential system of government. There's something I want to point out, which is very, very important. And in relation to the detention of Innoson motor manufacturer, many of us are decrying I mean, the overbounds of the EFCC, how they have been arresting people arbitrarily, not listening or respecting the rule of law, and things like that. But it's very, very important that we understand, for those who doesn't understand, that the strength of every economy, I mean, the rise of every economy hinges on an extraordinary entrepreneurial spirit of selected people. I mean, their visionary attitude and their energy to create where others can't. I want to cite example with America. Why is America this superpower? Yeah, whatever arguments you may come up, whether we like it or not, America today is the superpower, and there are factors that give rise to that. America fought a civil war from I think 1861 to 1865. It was a 4-year civil war, and after that civil war, it saw the rise of America. But there are few individuals that shaped, I mean, the rise of America. And why is America very strong? Yeah, this we do understand that the military might is very strong, but there are still many other countries who have that military might. What distinguishes America most is their economic power. It's their economic power and their per capita income. I mean, despite the fact that you can't generally say that 100% that everybody is okay in the country, but at least majority, they have that purchasing power individually. And I mean, at the turn of the Industrial Revolution, which officially started in England, it was exported to America. And there are key figures in the history of America. If you know your onions, you can check on the history of America, and even their landmarks reverberate today. And who am I talking? I'm talking about the likes of Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Ford, people, characters like that. There's a story I want to tell, and all these things, I'm going to link it to what is happening in Nigeria and why Nigeria has refused to move on. In 1896, it was time for American election, U.S. election, and you know, the Civil War ended. America was poor. Most Americans lived under $100 a month, and there was massive poverty. And the Industrial Revolution has just started. So, despite the advent of the Industrial Revolution, then there weren't really free thinking like that, as in when it comes to resourcefulness and creativity. But there are key figures. Why I decided to point them out is I'm going to direct it to Innoson, Chief Chukwuma. Innoson, I hope I got his name right, Chief Chukwuma. Innoson, the first guy to build, made in Africa automobile. And today, the EFCC in Nigeria announced yesterday also he's been arrested. Why? Over issues he had with a commercial bank. But let me keep that aside. Let me bring, I want to bring to your attention about this story I want to tell on the 1896 elections in America. The elections was between Bryan and McKinley. But before that election, there were these characters that held America sway. But in as much as they held America sway, they contributed immensely to the advancement of America, to the creation of the middle class, to the creativity of America, to the drive of the economic power of America. And that is J.P. Morgan, Cornelius Vanderbilt, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and at a later stage, Ford. These few guys, because today we equate capitalism to America. Why is America a capitalist? Why do we say America is a seat of capitalism? And why are they the richest? These few guys, many of you know J.P. Morgan as the strong name in banking. He revolutionized banking around the world, particularly in America. Then you talk about Cornelius Vanderbilt. Cornelius Vanderbilt single-handedly erected most of the railroads. I mean, when we say railroads, that's the train tracks that crisscrossed America. And that was the beginning of development in America, because that railroad now cut across several places, I mean cities in America. It opened up America and tripled, I mean, the speed in manufacturing, distribution of goods and commerce. Cornelius Vanderbilt built it. Then we talk about John Rockefeller. John Rockefeller, the oil water. Some of you do know about these names, but there's a reason I want to put this story together. John Rockefeller was into oil. I mean, his idea of petrol stations, he started these things in America, and it's spread. Whether we like it or not, we are following the Western civilization, so we cannot deny that fact. Then, that's Rockefeller for oil. Then we talk about Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate. These guys single-handedly, created massive business empires in America that catapulted America to become a global superpower. That after the Civil War in America, before the turn of the 20th century, America has amassed enormous wealth, and at the outbreak of the First World War, America came in as a big power, and you saw what happened in the Second World War. We are still living on the effects of the Second World War, in which they came in as superpower and were the first to develop the kind of weapon that haven't been used. So these guys, there was something that America did, and I should say that it's been the model structure of many economies around the world, and that is privatization. Privatization, though British people did something like that, but America expanded theirs. Like I said before, J.P. Morgan, banking, Cornelius Vanderbilt single-handedly built railroads. You can imagine, individuals running, building massive business empires in the country, and he that controlling the economy. Yes, we say that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But at the turn of the Industrial Revolution, it was exported to America from Great Britain. Then it was British Empire. It was exported to America, and America just finished. They just came out of their Civil War, and there was massive poverty. And these individuals, in their task, visionary attitude and entrepreneurial spirit drove up the American industrial machine. I mean, it was the first time the urbanization started creating big time and the emergence of the middle class. Although at a later stage, because of their power, like I said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. They held monopoly of the oil sector. I mean, the oil sector by Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie held monopoly on the steel, JP Morgan on banking and electricity, and Vanderbilt on railroad. They even used their cash, their enormous cash, to impose, should I say, influence the election of their key people into governments. And that was they put in 1896, they put in William McKinley against Bryan. Bryan was a commoner, and he tried to get into the White House. So being the spokesman of the commoner. But these key guys had to fund the campaign of William McKinley to get into position. And McKinley won the election of 1896. Then there was, after 4 years, he came back again and won his second term in, I think, 1901. But unfortunately for them, there was a rising star who didn't like the trust and the monopolists, what they were doing. So they had to, and that was Theodore Roosevelt, who fought in the war. He was a war hero then. Theodore Roosevelt was moved to the vice presidential office. And the vice presidential slot, as at then, it wasn't a powerful position. It was a position that is usually reserved for anybody that want to shut up. But unfortunately for McKinley, McKinley was gunned down in 1901. He was shot by an assassin where he was, where he went to campaign, talk about the prosperity of America, whereas the prosperity wasn't trickling down. It was just among him and his key monopolists, especially these guys I called their names. And that was the rise of Theodore Roosevelt. When Theodore Roosevelt came to power, he had to take these monopolies and these big men to cleaners. He sued them to court and pursued them because he wanted the wealth to spread. He wanted the middle class to emerge. He wanted the Americans to benefit from the American dream. And that was how the Ford you are hearing today, Ford initially, when Ford started creating his cars, some monopolists didn't want him to get his cars into the market because he made these cars for the common American. He made the car, he revolutionized the automobile industry in the world, in the sense that when he started creating his cars, it was for the common man. It was affordable for everyone, and they tried to stop him. It was the American court that decided his case. Many of you who are watching me are lawyers. You can dust your legal books and check these things. There are references in law. That was how Ford now had the powers to start manufacturing his cars in quantity to the reach of the average American. So why did I tell this story? I decided to tell this story in the sense that for a nation to move, it must back it's visionary entrepreneurs. I mean, commerce. That's why commerce is very important. In every, even during the British Empire time, we hear about Tom Mangold and co. The Royal Niger Company. Nigeria was a personal property of British merchants, and Queen Victoria and co. bought these colonies from all these merchants. Most European explorers, they did these things on their own, and when they informed, leaders in their country, kings and queens or whatever they may have, they were paid, or they sold some of these colonies to them. And we can borrow aspects of these studies, the historical studies, for what has come to become privatization today, and the importance of the organized private sector. And coming to the detention of Innoson motor manufacturer, it is laughable. I call it detention of Innoson motor manufacturer and Nigeria's hopelessness under Buhari. You see, we most times, clap for modern countries. When we travel around, we see what they've done. But these things, that's why history is very important. You must check what worked in many places and try to infuse your own local knowledge to make things work. We've been agitating for Biafra. Why do we agitate for Biafra? It's because the Nigerian country is not working. It's frustrating that you see youths can no longer talk. Nigerians themselves have just shut their mouth. Nobody is talking. A lot of things are happening in the country. There's immense poverty in the land, and nobody is talking about those that are expected to say something or to proffer solutions. Behave as if creating an enabling environment is rocket science. We've seen with the detention of this motor manufacturer, I look at the hopelessness of the Buhari administration. This is a man who is not enjoying monopoly. I have been reading the issues between him and the GT Guarantee Trust Bank, or whatever they call it. I didn't see any big issue that should warrant the man's arrest. And if he's supposed to be arrested, is it the EFCC? Because these agencies are agents of retrogression. If somebody like this can be hunted into detention, someone who, out of his ingenuity, is creating the first made in Africa automobile. I've watched where he handed over armored cars to the Nigerian army. He's made smaller vehicles and big trucks. I don't see why he can not be encouraged. These kind of person are the people that need immense waiver, to create the jobs we are talking about. What is the essence of governance? That's why I said that Nigeria is hopeless under Buhari. If an Innoson will be arrested and hunted into detention by an agency of the government, what does it mean? It means that it's sanctioned by the government. The other time, it was Ifeanyi Oba, and over 2,000 of his workers couldn't be paid. His company were grounded to a halt. These things are the things that affect the economy. When we talk about recession, you think recession is just tearing the piece of paper. These things affect the economy. These things are what you use to judge a nation's economy. I mean, this Innoson motor company, it's enough to create, create millions of jobs, not only in Nigeria. Africa has 54 countries. I mean, the market is there. Okay, let us leave the African market. Concentrate on the Nigerian market. First of all, if we say we want Nigeria to be great, how will the country be great? I mean, if this kind of person cannot be encouraged, how will the country be great? I mean, why is the president on that seat? What are Nigerian youths doing? I mean, what are the youths doing? The other day, everybody's crucifying Nnamdi Kanu for his way of talking and all those. But does this kind of leaders, don't they need insults? They need more than insults. I mean, I don't want to start making statements. Let it not be as if I'm making inflammatory statements. But if an innocent can be handed into detention, then is the country not hopeless? I mean, I've just cited instance on how America rose. When we talk about America, it's just few individuals that drove the economy, you know, that expanded the American machine, manufacturing machine. And this manufacturing machine touched every part, every sector of the economy. The world now tested the power, the new power of America during the First World War and the Second World War. Most of you knew what happened. By then, America has grown big, very big, manufacturing, producing everything. We're talking about Ford. Today, Ford set example for automobile manufacturing around the world. How did he do that? And before then, in as much as if you are a historian, I want you to dust American history and get deep into how they rose. Ford had to go to court, and Theodore Roosevelt came handy and took these monopolies, these big men, to court and fought them stand still to make sure that the American dream reaches most people. And when Nigerians, you that is an Edo man, you that is Yoruba, TV, Fulani, Hausa, and you that is Igbo, that is against the quest for Biafra. This is what they are talking about, that we want the country to move. We want progress in the country. I said it before, the quest for Biafra is not out of, it's not an idealist thing. It's a failure of leadership. I mean, how does the common Nigerian benefit? This is a country that is stupendously rich, yet the people suffer in abject penury, gnashing of teeth. Someone who has the ingenuity of building cars, not only cars, trucks, and he has shown that, instead of the federal government finding a way to encouraging indigenous technology, to encouraging mass production